Well, the craziest week in UFC history is officially over, and it ends late Saturday night here in Brooklyn, New York, with Khabib Nurmagomedov finally becoming a UFC lightweight champion. He defeats Ally Quinta via unanimous decision. It was a dominant performance for the Dagestani Eagle. He is now 26-0, and once again proves his point that he is one of the very best in mixed martial arts. Also tonight, Rose Namajunas successfully defends her strawweight title in a fantastic fight against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She wins via unanimous decision. We'll talk about both those fights and wrap up this crazy night and crazy week here in Brooklyn. Hello again, everyone. I'm Ariel Helwani. That is Danny Segura. This is going to be a short version of the MMAfighting.com post-fight wrap-up because the post-fight press conference took almost 3 hours, and Khabib was a little tardy. We're not going to blame him because he is the champ, and we don't want to criticize the champ, but we only have a few minutes left before they actually kick us out of this building, which I guess is a fitting way to end this crazy week, Danny. So let me ask you, Khabib Nurmagomedov, dominant performance. Were you impressed by it?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, keeping in mind all the circumstances he had to deal with, he, deal with them pretty well. On top of that, he took a short notice opponent. He had to change a lot of things, and, he went in that fight and proved, his wrestling's still on point and he can strike.
Yeah, he said his team was disappointed in his third and fourth round performance because he struck a little too much. He said he watched a lot of Muhammad Ali footage this week and maybe fell in love with the striking. But overall, I don't know how you can really criticize him. Maybe he got away from the wrestling midway, but it did kind of feel like he wanted to kind of experience the championship round, so to speak. So I thought the broadcast was a little too critical of him. What did you think?
Well, I was in the arena, so I didn't have a chance to listen to the broadcast. But I thought his performance was fine. I mean, you got to keep in mind, there's so much on the line. Io Quinta is a brand new opponent for him. I mean, this fight's only been together for a couple of days. So, I understand why maybe he was a little more cautious and wanted to go all the 5 rounds. But what round did he lose? And almost every single round was a 10-8. It was complete domination from Khabib.
Way to rub it in, by the way, that you were in the arena and I was in the back watching on TV. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And by the way, massive props to Io Quinta taking this fight on 24 hours notice and hanging in and had some moments late and was almost begging for more punches to come. So afterwards, Khabib says he wants GSP. Doesn't really call out Conor, which I thought was kind of a misstep on his part because I think that's a much more lucrative fight. Spoke about Conor a little more at the post-fight press conference. If you had your way, who would you book against Khabib next? And, of course, there's still Tony Ferguson out there who certainly everyone would love to see fight Khabib, but, this thing is cursed at this point.
No, it has to be Conor McGregor, but I disagree a little bit with what you said. I think, calling out GSP was a way of telling Conor McGregor, look, the show can go on without you. We can make big fights. Either you're in or you're out, because right now Conor McGregor does not have the UFC lightweight title. Khabib does. So he's the one calling the shots. If McGregor wants to come back and be in the big picture, he's going to have to fight that man. Okay. And there are other options for Khabib, the GSP, and GSP has been interested in perhaps going down to 155. So I think this whole, getting the title, all this card, was all lacking Conor McGregor. And, that was a way of telling him, like, look, the show is going to go on with or without you.
I spoke to GSP via text, and he said that he thinks Khabib and the UFC have some business to take care of before he considers that fight. So maybe that's his way of telling Khabib that I'm calling the shots here. We shall find out. Let's talk about Rose Namajunas. If you thought the first fight was a fluke, it's not a fluke. She fought very well and, in fact, said afterwards that she thought she was a little heavy, not technical enough, and even conceded the fact that she considered pulling out after what happened on Thursday. She was on that bus that was attacked by McGregor and his team. What did you make of her performance? And overall, what did you make of how Joanna fought as well, especially considering how she fought in the first fight?
Yeah, this is a fight that, this is the way I saw it playing. In my predictions column on MMAfighting.com, I explained how, this fight was going to go all 5 rounds. It was going to be a very competitive fight. It was going to be a close fight. And I wasn't sure who was going to win. I thought Rose was going to win, and that eventually was the outcome. But she did extremely well. She didn't really need to take the fight to the ground. She was very comfortable on the feet, and she was able to outstrike one of the best strikers in women's MMA. So I thought her performance was pretty impressive. I thought she did well.
Gun to your head, I know it's 4 a.m., but who would you book her against next?
It's tough because, that strawweight division, I believe with Felice Herring's loss, I think the longest win streak is only 2. So there's a lot of moving pieces. There's no clear-cut contender. If Felice Herring would have won her fight against Karolina Kowalkiewicz, I would have put her in there. But at this point, I don't know. Maybe the rematch with Karolina Kowalkiewicz actually, because Rose lost to her in a close fight, and that was a pretty fun and competitive bout. So maybe you do that. There's Jessica Andrade out there who's been doing quite well since losing in her title fights. So I think either of those 2 fighters should fight Nick.
Also worth noting that Joanna Jędrzejczyk said her weight cut went well this time, and she's not considering a move up to 125, even though she's now 0-2 against Rose. Any other performance you want to talk about? We had Zabid Magomed with a great win over Kyle Bochniak. Learned afterwards that he actually broke his right hand in the back while preparing for the fight, warming up, which is just absurd. Olivier Aubin-Mercier with a really nice win over Evan Dunham. Any other performance you want to talk about before we say goodnight once and for all?
I'm going to go with Zabit's. It wasn't, a super impressive performance in the sense that he didn't go out there and finish or get the knockout, but nonetheless, this guy's a pretty interesting character. He's shown a lot of talent, a pretty solid prospect, and, he went out there and called out Yair Rodriguez. I think that's a pretty good fight that, could be possibly booked in the future. So, his performance was pretty worth noting. Obviously, one fight of the night, pretty exciting fight as well.
Saturday night ends up being a breath of fresh air for the UFC and the entire MMA community. No drama, no, crazy theatrics, which is what we've come to expect here in New York. It was pretty uneventful. Not to say that it was a boring night, but it just kind of happened. And that's okay sometimes in MMA. That was nice to see. So congratulations to Khabib Nurmagomedov. He finally gets that UFC gold. Now we wait and see what happens for him next, who he fights. Will Tony Ferguson reemerge as an interim champion? Will Conor McGregor reemerge? What is going on in that lightweight division? There's a little more clarity, but something tells me it's going to get a hell of a lot more interesting now that Khabib has that belt. And again, of course, congratulations to Rose Namajunas. We couldn't thank you enough for watching our coverage all week long from here in Brooklyn. Who would have thought we would have ended up like this? Yeah. It had many ups and downs, but we appreciate you sticking with us every step of the way. It was certainly a memorable one. We'll be back on Monday for the MMA Hour. Something tells me we have a lot to discuss there, but for now, we shall say good night and good morning from Brooklyn. Again, thanks so much for watching.